Good morning, everyone. Greetings to all of you. I'm Sharon Whitehill. I'm your worship associate this morning on this very meaningful Mother's Day, as you will soon see as the service proceeds. This is the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County, and I'm here to greet you all and to say thanks to all who make services like this one possible. My fellow worship associates who plan and coordinate our services, to my loyal friends in the choir over there, to Tom and Corey for managing the intricacies of our tech and sound system, to greeters who stand and welcome you at the front door, our volunteers in the kitchen, our art on the wall display over here, to Mary Jane and Sandy in the office for holding it all together, really to every last one of you who help keep this fellowship functioning and vibrant, as indeed it is. Finally, I want a special mention today to be made to and for Corey and Janet, whom you just heard on the saxophone. Those two have gone above and beyond these past weeks in helping us with our music. I would love to hear a round of applause for these two. And welcome to everyone here. Well, that was coming in a bit, but you might as well. Hi, Ryan, and we're really happy to have you, as you can tell. So, welcome to everyone here. To those of you watching on YouTube at home, this progressive, lay-led community of seekers here at UUFCC. No matter where you come from, no matter whom you love, no matter your gender identification or the color of your skin, we welcome you to join your life path with our own. In the words of a beloved former pastor of mine, it's the spirit of love and acceptance that binds us all together, giving dignity, meaning, worth, and joy to all our days. We will have our musical prelude next. Please stand as you're able and join the choir in singing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Oh,
It's a bit of a job to wend my way in and out of the choir and back up here, so bear with me. A flame within a chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalist faith. With the lighting of our chalice today, we ignite the fire of compassion, love, and hope to represent our community, our work toward a better future, and our conviction to our principles. Our special words today for the chalice lighting are by co-ministers Reverend Christian Schmidt and his wife Reverend Kristen Schmidt of the UU Church of Berkeley. We light this chalice for our children and youth and for us, celebrating the flame of faith lit in each of us, honoring the light each of us brings into the world, rejoicing in the community we create together. And now, as Fred, will you light the chalice, please? Please join me, and those of you at home, it's time to light your chalice as well if you're watching on YouTube. Join me, please, in reciting our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Music again, and you'll notice a theme as we go through the service. Let's join together in singing hymn number 97, if you'll please rise as you're able. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Before we move to the opening words, I neglected to invite anybody who's with us here for the first time today. Please, if you're willing to rise and wave, and if you're comfortable, tell us your name, and we'd love to greet you that way. Mike. Hi, Mike. Welcome. Randy. Randy and Karen and Mike. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Lori, for the reminder. The opening words are from Mary Lawson, who is a Canadian novelist. She's also a very distant relative of the author of Anne of Green Gables, Lucy Maud Montgomery. Some of you know that book. Her opening words, or my opening words, are from her, excerpted from a novel she wrote called Crow Lake. It's about the events that follow the death of the narrator's parents. You see the suffering of children all the time nowadays. Wars and famines are played out before us in our living rooms, and almost every week there are pictures of children who have been through unimaginable loss and horror. Mostly, they look very calm. You see them looking into the camera, directly at the lens, and knowing what they've been through, you expect to see terror or grief in their eyes. Yet so often there's no visible emotion at all. They look so blank, it would be easy to imagine they weren't feeling much. And though I do not for a moment equate what I went through with the suffering of those children, I do remember feeling as they look. I remember people talking to me, and I remember the enormous effort required even to hear what they said. I was so swamped by unmanageable emotions that I couldn't feel a thing. It was like being at the bottom of the sea. End quote. Our tradition here at UUFCC is to share our joys and sorrows and life milestones by entering them into the Book of Life, a red book, which is at the back of the fellowship as you walk in on the right. And let me see, Lynn, would you mind bringing it up to me? Thanks. In this book, you can note down your milestones on Sunday morning when you come, or by emailing them to the Book of Life at uufcc.org. Thank you, Lynn. No later than Saturday before the service. Then the worship associate, in this case, moi, will enter them into the red book for you after having read them from this pulpit. Today, May 14th, is from Jackie. Please keep me in your thoughts. My dear friend, a dear friend and nephew of mine was killed. Wish everyone a happy Nurture's Day, says Jackie. And so I wish that to you, Jackie, and to all of you on your behalf. Mike K., Dr. Mike, is looking for a bridge, that is, rubber partner, for Thursday afternoon. I take this is about a card game. He's not trying to sell you a bridge. He's looking for a bridge that is rubber partner for Thursday afternoons. Please speak to him if interested. Sorry, Dr. Mike, for messing that one up. I have also an entry from Laura R., who says, our 6 guests from Nicaragua have left Bill and me to look for other opportunities. Thank you for your warm welcome as we got to know these wonderful young men the last few months. Please keep them and their families in Nicaragua in your thoughts. This is a message from me on behalf of my friend and our former member here, Lena Van Helvert. Some of you remember Lena. This update is from her partner Joel in Canada. Those of you who knew Lena may remember that she contracted COVID shortly after arriving here for the season from Ontario. She was fully vaccinated, but she had a terrible case, which left her institutionalized with permanent impairment. The following update then is from Joel to describe her situation. There are two notes. One from last December. He wrote, "Lena is strong physically. Her cognitive skills are getting better with 2 visits a week from occupational therapists. She plays card games and understands the rule and scoring. But her long and short-term memories get mixed up. Overall, she is doing much better, and I look forward to our life together." Then I got another one this past Wednesday, which says, "Lena is doing well. She loves helping people, and there are many in the institution that she tries to comfort. They have live music and sing-alongs, which she enjoys. She smiles much more now. She plays the piano, and we sing 60s and 70s music." Joel concludes by inviting visits from those in the area. Remember, they're in Ontario. But I have an address if you'd like to mail cards and notes there. Glen Burnie, Ontario is the city and province. We also extend our love and sympathy to Linda Poindexter, our own LP, whose sister died last week. I'd like now to take a moment of silent meditation. Thoughts and all those that remain unspoken in our hearts and minds as we move through the coming days. Our next hymn, which again, as you'll notice, concerns children, topic of our guest presentation this morning. Please stand as you're able for hymn number 338. I Seek the Spirit of a Child.
I
It's now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Christine Carey. She is Charlotte County's Director of Valerie's House, which is a nonprofit that provides grief support programs for children and families grieving the death of a loved one. Christine has spent more than 20 years as an educator in our county, once as a Teacher of the Year award recipient in 2015. And when one of her elementary school students suddenly died, she, as the teacher, was faced with helping other students process their grief. And she knew what that felt like, because her own mother had died when she was barely out of her teens. That experience not only allowed her to connect with and support her students, but it made her realize how important it is to have a place to grieve and heal together. A place like Valerie's House. This is a wonderful and much needed service for children and families alike. And I'm sure that with me, you're eager to hear more about it. So welcome, Christine.
Hi, can you hear me back there? All right. I do have a presentation, a slideshow, so we'll start with, just that slide. Thank you. Yes, my name is Christine Carey. I am the director here, Valerie's House here in Charlotte County. I also service Sarasota. Thank you, Sharon, for inviting me and the church. I'm just so grateful to be here. I was a teacher for 20 years, and my last year teaching in Charlotte County at Babcock Neighborhood School, I had a student that was killed in a car accident, and he was 5 years old, and I had to work with 17 grieving students for the school year. And that was a journey, and after that school year was completed, I opened it up to the universe, and I felt like I needed to do more, and I didn't know what to do. So I opened it up, and that summer on social media, up popped Valerie's House. And I said, well, what's Valerie's House? And I clicked on it, and the next slide, please. It shared the vision. Our vision is that no child grieves alone, and our mission is to help children and families work through the loss of a loved one together to go on to live fulfilling lives. When I saw that, I cried, and I said, I have to work with them some way, somehow. And so at that time, it wasn't opened in Charlotte County. Behind the scenes, they were working on it getting opened. They were looking for someone, a staff member, to open it here in Charlotte County. So I applied for the position, and that was 3.5 years ago. So thank you, yes. I opened it up here in Charlotte County. I knew the mission and the vision was so important for us, and that's why I'm standing here today. I also want to share too that, yes, it is Mother's Day, and my mother died in my 20s, and so we didn't have grief support groups here in Charlotte County back then. Now we do, with the help of Valerie's House. We have young adult programs for these grieving young adults as well. So it's just an honor and pleasure to be here today to talk about mothers and also what we provide our services for. All right, next slide, please. What is Valerie's House? It's Southwest Florida's first and only organization with the sole mission to help children grieve the loss of a loved one. And the picture on your right shows, on the bottom it says Valerie Melvin, and that's where Valerie's House came from. The lady in the middle is a mother, and she was a nurse, and in 1987, she had 2 little girls, and one was 10 years old, and then the other one was a little bit younger. And unfortunately, in 1987, it was in Lee County. She was traveling to pick up her girls from summer camp, and she was killed in a car accident. And so Valerie died, and again, she was the mother of these 2 beautiful girls. One of the girls on your left the little one with the red bow, she was 10 years old. Her name is Angela Melvin. And Angela Melvin, she walked hand in hand in grief with her little sister and her father. And they had to do that for years. And she went to college, came back to Lee County, and worked for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And her little mentee that she worked with lost a loved one. And she looked around, there was still no grief support groups in Lee County. And so Angela Melvin opened up Valerie's House in 2016, and that started in Lee County in honor of her mother, Valerie. So that's where that came from, the name. And now we have grown leaps and bounds since 2016. And in fact, in Lee County, the city has donated land to Lee County, and we're opening up our headquarters at the end of this year. Beautiful home for our children and families. They don't live there, but it's going to be our headquarters. Okay, next slide, thank you. This is one of our little girls at Valerie's House. We always ask permission before we post any pictures, so I do want to let you know that. This little girl is named Shelby, and Shelby came to our program a couple of years ago, and I actually did the enrollment for her, and her grandmother came, and there was hopelessness in their eyes. They didn't know where to turn, what to do, and we said, we're here for you. This is Valerie's House. We're going to help you through your grief. And this picture here, she's smiling, and in 2019, her dad had died, and that's why she was eligible for our program. And she's smiling in this picture. She has a mentor, and the mentor took this picture of her. We have a mentor program with Valerie's House. And so in the mentor program, they get to go to the park, they get to do fun things 4 hours a month. And this picture was sent to me, and I just love this picture and how far this little girl has come since the day I met her. She's doing much better in school with a lot of support and love. Unfortunately, her mother died in 2022, right after Hurricane Ian. It wasn't because of Hurricane Ian, it was a drug-related issue. So now she doesn't have her mother or her father. Luckily, she lives with grandma and grandpa. But that's a challenge too, to be raising a little girl at that age. So we are here to support them as well. Yep, thanks. How we help our children and families at Valerie's House. We have a peer grief support group. Twice a month we meet in the evenings, and it's for the whole family. It's for the children and the adults. And we meet in Punta Gorda the first and third Monday of every month, and in Port Charlotte the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And we do art projects, activities with the children and the families, and it's a wonderful time for them to be with others that have lost a loved one, so they're not feeling alone. And we'll go into more detail about what that looks like in a night in just a few minutes. We also have a positive adult leadership program. Angela Melvin, the CEO founder, she said, we need a catchy name, we need a catchy tune instead of the mentor program. And so my husband and I made that up, I thought that was kind of neat. So positive adult leadership, we call it the Val's Pals program. So it's a little bit more catchy. We also, and that's 4 hours a month, and you can go, like I said, to movies, the park, anything you want with that one child, which is really amazing. We also have the Family Finance and Legal Assistance Fund. So we help children and families, especially during the pandemic, during Hurricane Ian. They're grieving the loss of their loved one, but they're also financially grieving. And some of them lost their homes. They lost so much during that time. So we were able to help. We're still helping them financially with the cause of what has happened. We also have a legal assistance fund, so we help families, especially if grandparents are now raising their grandchildren. There's legal assistance that needs to happen so they can be the legal guardians. We help through that program financially to help fund that. We also have individual counseling, one-on-one counseling if needed. Some of these children have experienced watched suicides, homicides, all very, very tragic situations, very traumatic. And so we have one-on-one, if needed, for them. And we have those services at the Family Service Center once a week on Fridays. So they can come there. The parents can come there also for services. We have a school-based bereavement program. We service children in Sarasota, Charlotte County, Collier, Lee, and Pensacola, those counties in the school system. We also have the Grieve, Love, Heal podcast. That's a great podcast on our website. So if you're interested to learn more about what we do, it's a nice way to learn more. Thank you. What does a group night look like? A lot of people ask. So we have, twice a month, we have group nights. And we have them sign in, and they come at 6 o'clock. We have dinner with them. So we're always looking for sponsors for dinners. And so we have from 6 to 6:30, we eat with them. And that's a nice way so they don't have to worry about dinner that night. You know, they've been working all day. They come to the grief group and they can just relax and not have to be stressed about food. So we have dinner provided. And then from 6:30 to 8, we break up into grief groups, and we split our grief groups into their ages. So we have a minnows group, and that's like the little ones preschool. We have a sea turtle group, which is kindergarten through 2nd grade. We have a dolphin group, and they're 3rd grade to 5th grade. And then we have a manatee group, and that's middle schoolers. And then we have a tarpon group, and that's the high schoolers. And so they know the name of their groups. They go into their little groups, and we have different rooms for each group, and 2 facilitators per group. And we do art projects, like I said, and activities integrated with the grief. And I'll share with you a few of our projects that we've done in just a moment. But that's kind of what we do. We also have a caregiver group, because these caregivers need help in providing the support that the grieving child is needing, and they're grieving too. So it's a nice way to have that interaction with them. They also, I have a caregiver group, and they love doing the activity too. So they'll do the art project, and then when they drive home, they're all talking about what activity they did that night. And it's so wonderful. They have that engaging conversation. We modify it depending on their age group, and that's how we run our program. Then we also, at the end of our group, we have chocolate meditation. They love that, which probably everybody would here. One time I wasn't able to be with my group, and I always warn them if I can't be there the night, the week before. And I say, I'm not going to be there. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry you're not going to be there. Are we going to still do chocolate meditation? And I was like, oh, yes, of course. So it means a lot to them. They love it, and it's very important. And in that, we talk about our sweet memories that we had about that person, or memories we had. Not always the people that have died, they don't have sweet memories of that person, unfortunately. And so we do have we have cases of both, and we talk about memories that you may have had with that person. After that, we have a closing circle, and we get in a big circle, all of us, all the children and families, they come together, and we'll do a hand squeeze. We'll talk about the anniversary of the death of our loved one for the month. If they had, anniversaries are very difficult of the death of our loved ones. So we do want to share that if they'd like to, and we also, if it's their birthday month, the children, not the adults. I always warn the adults, we're not giving out presents to the adults, but the children can get a present. We get presents and lots of gifts. We try, during the holidays, Christmas time, but we have some extra. We put some extra on the side, and we give them out one present during their month of their birthday, because grief is all year. It's not just one part of the year, and it's for years. So we try to help the family throughout the year. All right, next slide. Thank you. This is one of our projects. Am I too close to this, or am I okay? Right here? Good? Okay. So here's one of our activities, and I love, as a teacher, I was a teacher for 20 years, so curriculum is very important to me. This is one of many activities. To your left here, you'll see a bunch of masks, and then in the middle, we have if you can't see it very well, it's colors of emotion. So there's a color that signifies an emotion. Now, orange is shock, yellow is happy, green is guilt, purple is worried, gray is relief, Black is lonely, angry is red, and sad is blue. And some people say, well, that color blue doesn't mean sadness to me. Like in my case, my mother loved the color blue. So when I see blue, it's happy. So this is just a guide. This doesn't mean that it's for everyone. They can choose what colors signify their emotions. And these are just, 8 examples of emotion. There's so many more emotions you can have with your grief. And so what we do is this. Now again, this is one example. One night we would do this type of activity. We talk about the colors of emotion, and they talk about them and express their feelings. And it's a peer grief support group, so they're talking and they're engaging with each other. So they talk. It's not like a teacher and the children, we're all engaged in this together. And then we talk about, well, how are you feeling on the outside? What are you showing the world? And a lot of children are showing yellow. And yellow on here, what we talk about is happiness. They're showing this because they don't want mom or dad who's living to be upset or angry or crying. So they're going to show this grieving child. Or they're at school and they're showing this because they don't want to look weird or different or unusual. They want to fit in with everyone else, or they don't want anyone to talk about the person who died with them at school. We get that a lot. And so it's almost like they're at school and they're one way, and then when they come to Valerie's house, they can share their feelings on the inside, because it's okay to feel however you want, and we're not going to judge them because we're going through it too. And so we talk about outer feelings, and then we talk about, well, what's really going on inside. And this is what we get inside. These are the feelings that we have here, and this is what's really going on. And so if you can't see up there, I'm sorry, it's kind of far. The orange is shock. The green is guilt. A lot of the children are feeling guilty that their loved one died, that it was their fault. If it was a suicide, they do feel that way. Not all of them. I'm just saying in general, we get a lot of that. Angry is red, and black is lonely. Blue is sadness. So this is what's going on inside. And what's wonderful is they're able to have these engaging conversations with another child and saying, yeah, I feel like this too. I'm mad, I'm angry, and it's okay. And we talk about that, and we also have coping skills to go with this to help them through that grief that they're going through. So this is one of many examples. It's one of my favorites to talk about. The one on the far right is, it's in capital letters, it says death on it. It's a whiteboard. And when we talk about Valerie's house, we talk about our emotions, we talk about the person who died. We don't say pass away or gone, because that sounds like, well, they might come back. When they've died, they're not coming back. So we talk about death and what that means to them. And so the children describe what that means on the outside of the word death. And then they get a wet cotton ball and they throw the cotton ball at the whiteboard, and they can say, I'm angry, or I'm mad, or maybe they're happy. Sometimes it could be a happy thing that they've watched their loved one so sick for so many years that it's a relief, And so whatever they're feeling, they can throw on the whiteboard. And it's such a beautiful release to watch this for the children, and sometimes the caregivers too. So these are 2 of many examples. Again, we do one activity that night. If it's the mask activity, everyone's doing that, but we modify it for their age group, and then we come together and talk about it. Thank you. I shared a little bit about Val's Pals program. This is just some of the activities. They're at a water park. It looks like a park in Fort Myers. And then they're playing basketball. It could be as easy as that. The mentor program's 4 hours a month, one-on-one with a child. A woman's with a little girl. Males are with boys. That's how we work it in our program. And it's just a wonderful way to give back, if that's a type of way that you would like to volunteer. Okay. Next. What we believe about grief. So each person has the capacity to heal. There is no timeline for grieving. Grief is individual. Grief comes in waves. Grief is personal, and you don't get over grief. You learn to live with it. Yes. I'm glad you like that. Yes, thank you. So yes, that's how our belief system on grief. We don't do the stages of grief that was taught to us years ago because we don't go through all the stages of grief. Some of us skip some of those stages. And I remember when my mom died, I didn't go through all those stages, and I thought, well, what's wrong with me? I didn't go through some of this. And that's why we have this belief system set in place. Okay. The 4 tasks of mourning. So Dr. J.W. Warden came up with this system, and this is, again, what we believe and we share with our families. To accept the reality of the loss, to work through the pain of grief, to adjust to life without the deceased, and to maintain a connection to the deceased while moving on with life. We asked children, we had a survey, what do you want people to say, and what don't you want people to say when someone dies? And so this is from children, and it was very eye-opening. They said, we like when people say, I will support you in any way I can. They like when people say, I have been thinking of you. If you ever want to talk about your special person, I'm here to listen. That's probably the best advice we give. People ask, well, what do you say when someone dies? And it's a little child, and what do you tell them? It's just being there to listen is probably the best thing you can do. They did not like when people said, well, it could be worse. At least you have your mom, or your brother or sister, the other brother or sister, but that person died, that one that they love. They also did not like, they are in a better place. Did not like that at all. Because to them, this is the better place. This is the best place to be with me here on this right now. So, and, I will tell you, I've been at fault at saying that, but it's just, learning process. They do not like that. So, okay, thank you. Our locations. So I shared, top left is a yellow house on Fowler Avenue in Fort Myers. Beautiful house. It's a rental. And the city of Fort Myers realized how important Valerie's house was. And so they donated land to Valerie's house. They're building their headquarters, so we're very excited. It's amazing. It's a $3.3 million home in Fort Myers, Lee County. So they're going to have a big grand opening this end of this year. Very exciting. So we will be out of that little rental home, and it will be closer to the one on the far right on the top. It's actually big, much bigger than that, but it's going to be very exciting for the families to be there. And a lot of people say, well, if they're not going to live there, why do you have a house? Why we have a house is it's important for them to come to a place that's like a second home. We don't want it to look clinical. It's not a clinical place. It's a place for them to feel at home. And their home might not be feeling like a wonderful place at this moment. This might be a place where they can just relax and be themselves. So we have this home available for them. We also have a place on the far bottom left. It's in Collier County, Naples, and there's a home there for the children, and that's a rental, and it's beautiful. They had interior designers sponsor each room. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. We in Charlotte County do not have a home. We have been wanting a home so badly here in Charlotte County. We're still looking to get a place. So if anyone knows of a place or is interested, that's what we are needing here in Charlotte County. We have 2 facilities in churches that have opened up their doors for us. And so we are not church affiliated, but we are using their facility at this time. One in Punta Gorda and one in Port Charlotte. We also are located at the Family Service Center, where we have meetings and also our counseling services. We also have a place in Pensacola. They were donated a house, and it's beautiful, and they have families that come there. So we also have a place there as well. We do service, though, Sarasota, Glades, Charlotte, Lee, Hendry, Collier, and Pensacola, all of those areas at this time. Funding. It costs $0 for our families. They come to us because a lot of them are financially burdened. They are not able to have that opportunity to pay us, and we don't expect anything from them. So we are run by grants, donations, and special events. Our highest is donations. So that's how we run our programs here at in Charlotte, all over Collier, Lee, and Pensacola. These are just some of the notable numbers. We have 167 group nights. This was in 2021. Where's 2022? We're still collecting that data, so it's coming. We should have it in a couple months. But so this, I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is just some of our numbers and how important volunteers are. We have over 85 volunteers. So we are always looking for volunteers here in Charlotte County. And again, we need volunteers for the mentor program as well as group nights. And so if you're interested, let us know. How to get involved, volunteering. So you can be a group buddy. Again, the mentor program, ways to donate. There's on our website, gifts and tribute to a loved one. There's a monthly giving club. If you go to that one, you can scroll, and we have a Charlotte County fund. So depending on where you donate, it stays there. So we always share. You might want to pick the Charlotte because we live in Charlotte County. You want it to stay there. But that's your preference. Sponsoring a meal is always important. It's a wonderful way to give back if anyone's interested. Again, we have group nights and we do meals. We also have an Amazon wish list. Ways to help us, spread the word, and also hosting a fundraising event. Those are all great ways to help us. Again, we have our school groups. We have 8-week sessions in the schools. So we're always looking for people that might be interested. We have staff that go in there, but if anyone's interested to help us, we would love that as well. And it's 1 hour a week for 8 weeks, and we do grief groups in the schools, kindergarten up to 12th grade in Charlotte and Sarasota County. Okay. And I love giving tours. It's one of my favorite things. If anyone is interested in having a tour, if you want to get a group together, we can go down to the Valerie's House Fort Myers home, and you can have a tour of that location. And that's what we want here in Charlotte County. So if anyone's interested, please reach out to me. I'd love to give a tour to you as well. All right. I don't think we have questions in this. Well, I'm sure you have many questions. I can answer those questions, though, afterwards out in the hallway. I have a table set up, and we would love to answer some of your questions that you have, and if volunteer opportunities, all of those types of things. And my daughter will be there, too. Mother's Day, I had to bring my daughter, so yeah. Her name is Caitlin. And I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me on Mother's Day. It was an honor to be here, Sharon and your whole congregation, to have us here. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Christy. Just as stimulating a presentation as I knew it would be. I'm delighted, and what a wonderfully worthy organization this is, which I knew nothing about, and I'm sure many of you did not. And now we know, so that's very timely. Let's see. My papers are out of order. Will you just excuse me while there we go. Yes, it's time. A wonderful moment has come. Time for the offering. Just before we do that, be thinking about it, be getting your money out, as I already have. Before that, though, we will have music, and this is our next hymn. It's hard. This is a hard one for me to sing without crying, but I'll do my best. Sleep, My Child. It's number 409. Please stand. know that this beloved congregation of ours flourishes because of your ongoing and generous support. It's our privilege and certainly our responsibility to maintain. Because it's the second Sunday of the month, we also have a second helping, which will go to benefit Valerie's house, fittingly enough. So we'll pass the baskets twice. First for the financial health of this fellowship, and secondly for Valerie's house. We have another special treat today for our musical offertory, and that's Janet playing her soprano sax solo, A Mother's Prayer. Janet will accompany the offering. So if you are new today with us for the first time, please do not feel obligated to give. Your presence here is gift enough. on to the life of the community, the announcements. In the interest of time, I'm going to whiz through these and urge you to read your weekly notes because most all of these announcements are there for you to read. John, would you like to come up and say a few words? And while you're coming up, just remind you that there's a social justice meeting after the service today at noon. And there's still room in and time to sign up for my mythology class if you're interested in that. And Lunch Bunches meeting. Talk to Susie about that. I don't want to run us too far over time by listing all of the items that Susie asked me to, but I'm sure she will be happy to talk with you about that.
I'll be brief. There's an organization some of you may not know about in Charlotte County. It's the CHAPS, Charlotte HIV/AIDS People Services. They are a food pantry and hygiene pantry here in Charlotte County. And yesterday, the post office drive netted CHAPS well over 5,000 pounds of food, mostly canned goods, and it was about 20 carloads between the post office and CHAPS yesterday. In the rain, some of it, but volunteers are needed. If you have a couple hours during the week, see me after the service. They need volunteers to sort it. And if you ever, as a young person, worked stocking shelves at Publix or wherever, you're well suited for this job. So just a couple hours, just see me after the fact. Thank you very much. Oh, and I wore socks today. Just note that.
Thanks, John. I want to end this very meaningful service with some upbeat words, this time about childhood in a more positive sense than we've had to be aware of this morning. Again, it's a prose excerpt. It's from Annie Dillard's memoir, An American Childhood. What can we make of the inexpressible joy of children when it is allowed to bloom? It is a kind of gratitude, I think, the gratitude of the 10-year-old who wakes to her own energy and the brisk challenge of the world. Whole stacks at the library hold books devoted to things she knew nothing about. The boundary of knowledge receded as she poked about in the books, receded like Lake Erie's rim as she climbed its cliffs. Each area of knowledge disclosed another and another and another. Knowledge wasn't a body or a tree, but instead it was air or space or smallest cracks and the widest space between stars. Please join me now in our ritual words as Fred, if you will, extinguishes the chalice. If you remember to shut down your phones, it's my cue to remind you to turn them back on. Please join me in these chalice lighting words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May these ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. And our final piece will be number 388, Dona Nobis Pacem. That's all, folks.